Hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Tali.
And we are
the Lazy Book Lovers.
This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate about reading and have never-ending to-be-read piles. Today's episode is for Nonfiction November. We're just squeezing
in there, yeah.
in November. This is a list that Tali has put together. And I know nothing. So we're all going to learn together today.
Oh, good times. So for those of you that have been around, you'll know that one of my targets for this year was to read 10 to 12 non-fiction books. I haven't actually checked how well I'm doing. Let me have a look on Storygraph, which is full of really cool stats. Non-fiction, I've done 2 so far this year, so...
I was going to say, I don't remember you mentioning all that.
I've not actually,
I remember a year before you had a spate of really depressing ones.
Yeah,
the one that made you cry in the car when you were driving.
Yeah, we're about to do another spate of depressing. So I do have some intentions of getting through some non-fiction before the end of the year.
I had the really small goal of reading one non-fiction or something. I've not achieved.
Not yet.
No.
But now you've got Scribd,
you
could listen to an audio non-fiction. I find that's the best way to do non-fiction.
I've got loads bookmarked, but whenever I'm choosing what to listen to, I'm like,
same.
It's going to be me.
I've got stuff bookmarked that have been bookmarked since I first signed
stuff
up.
I'm genuinely interested in learning about as well, and I'm like, nah.
That was me in a past life. Okay.
Right, go.
So, I've got 12 non-fiction books. Just to be clear, I'm not saying I'm going to listen to all of these this year or read all of these this year. That would be ridiculous. But these are just some that have piqued my interest.
Piqued.
I love pronouncing words stupid like that.
Yeah.
And I always do it with my son and he finds it hilarious. And then my other half's always like, no, because he's going to think that's how you pronounce it. Because I'm always like muscles stuff.
Right, so my uncle on my dad's side says skizzers.
Skizzers. Yeah.
And I like that so much when I was a kid. To this day, I still say skizzers.
Yeah,
and people look
I
at
say
me,
skizzers.
and I'm like, oh, it's just more fun.
Yeah,
way.
it's just and I like to say Wi-Fi instead of Wi-Fi, and that annoys people.
Because Northerners say waft instead of waft.
Yeah,
and I just think waft is a better. I'm getting a cold waft. It's just nicer.
It's just more fun.
Northern English, that is, for non-Brits. A waft. I'm getting a waft. Yeah. I'm getting a waft of bacon from the kitchen. I'm like, oh!
That is just brilliant.
It's so much better than waft.
Waft.
That's I'm going to waft of fun. That's how I feel waft. That's waft energy.
Waft energy. Get your waft energy away.
Yeah.
Okay, so at time of recording this, presumably... not anymore when you listen to this, but Verso Books, who publish a lot of non-fiction, had 6 non-fiction books that they would give, ebooks that they were giving away for free, and they were all about the Gaza, Israel, Palestine
conflict. I
am trying to learn a lot about it. I'm very passionate about this. I have been told not to be too over the top about it in this episode, though.
I was just we've got to remember that we're a book podcast and not a political podcast, because sometimes we get very political.
Nothing's more political than reading. So, the first one on my list that I wish to read is, I guess it would be, can non-fiction be novellas?
I don't know,
I don't think they can.
It's just
this
very
is
short non-fiction.
Novella length.
Okay.
It's 148 pages.
That's not bad.
Yeah. It's called The Punishment of Gaza, and this is by Gideon Levy. I have not looked up any of these authors and how to pronounce their names, so apologies if I get anything wrong. So this is this follows between 2005 to 2009. And the Israel policy that adapted during that time frame, which obviously affects a lot of what's still happening to this day. Also, the case of sanctions against Israel, well, it's by multiple authors.
Mm-hmm.
It's edited by, I can't see the name on the cover, sorry. And this is about the legislation that was passed in 2011 in Israel, outlawing public support of boycotting activities against the state, corporations, settlements, etc. Basically how they put a stop to free speech within the Israel borders. So I've got 6 of these books. I'll talk about 3 and then we'll do some different ones and then we'll come back to them. I'm not going too much detail into them because firstly, I don't really know what they're about. That's why I want to read them. And secondly, I just don't want our editor to cry. And
we're trying to give you some information, but keep it light while we're talking about it.
Yeah, if you want my opinions on these, follow me on Instagram or TikTok, where I will not censor myself.
And I'll say we're not offering opinions right now, not because we don't have one and because it's not important.
Because I have lots of opinions.
That's why we've got these books.
But yeah, I need to learn more.
Yeah.
And the next one is Blaming the Victims. So this is about how obviously a lot of it is phrased to put the blame on the Palestinians, despite them being the victims. They are not the oppressors, so how can they take the blame for what's happening within their country, the Palestinian country? And yeah, so this one is about how propaganda is still very much rife. It's all distorted, obviously, to a viewpoint that's one viewpoint, as propaganda is.
Does that talk about how, is it Western media or is it just media in Palestine? And
it's
Israel?
What's coming out of the Israelis. But the Western media is disgusting. How they're phrasing.
It's very biased.
It's making me so angry. And we abstained from voting for it being a humanitarian crisis. Any country that voted against it, i.e. the USA, and abstained, I am disgusted.
It was a huge process in London this weekend.
Yeah, as there should be. Because they don't... Because all of the phrasing is the UK believes this. No. The UK does not believe that. You'll find that the majority of the people probably do not believe that, actually. It's just that you believe it because you have money involved in it. So this is why I want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
Because I was wondering, obviously, why... I know there's a racial element to it. I was wondering why a lot of the Western countries are so passionately taking one side that seems to be, I think, quite obviously the wrong side. I know it's nuanced, but genocide is not nuanced. And a lot of it is to do with trying to have a hold in the Middle East that is of Western white people, and so that's why I want to learn more about it, because I don't know a great deal. I remember I learned a lot about this when I was at uni. I was really interested. I was really curious is the better word, about this conflict. So I learned a lot then, but a lot of time has passed since then. So I need to learn more and update myself. And I've mentioned this book, I think, once just in passing. I want to, and I've got the audiobook, I want to listen to the Paris Hilton memoir.
I bet that's interesting.
Yeah. Because
I've seen a few videos of hers on, I don't think she put them on TikTok, but interviews with her. Of her being I'm very aware I was putting out a persona.
Yeah.
How she actually speaks is just completely different to the Hollywood persona.
I've always been a Paris Hilton fan. I used to watch her in The Simple Life and all of that. I love her. And I was of the opinion that she was just very cleverly using how our media at the time thought of women to progress her career.
She
And
kinda was.
and she very much did have a persona. But yeah, and this goes into more of her childhood that I didn't know about.
Well,
and,
the champion, all the stuff about the camps for kids.
Yeah.
Where the kids get kidnapped.
See, I didn't know she was sent
these
to all
wildlife.
of them.
I can't remember what they're
Yeah.
called. But like, because breaking code silence is the hashtag, and I've seen a few of those videos, and this is mad. This is a thing that's legal in America. You pay someone to kidnap your kid.
When I find out about this stuff, I'm always like, why do parents hate their children in America?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a generalisation, but it is quite crazy. Like that family vlogging channel, which again, family vloggers or content creators that create content around their children.
And we're starting to realise that none of them are completely ethical, no matter how hard they try.
And like there's a family vlogger that I think she's called like Passengers of 8 or 8 Passengers or something. And it's all coming out. She's been arrested now. She's in jail for abusing her children, and it's like she sent one of her kids to one of those wildlife camps. And I'm just like, why do you hate your kids? Why? I just
when you find out what happens there as well,
and they're aware of it.
Yeah,
and a lot of it's under the guise of like religion, which
just the ones where they're backpacking through the wilderness without adequate survival stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
kids
ridiculous.
Actually die on some of those things as well. It's crazy. So yeah, I never knew that she had been sent to one of those.
No, because I saw, for some reason, my For You page got a whole bunch of, I must have watched one, breaking code silence videos.
Yeah.
And I just sort of watched a few of them because I was like, oh, this is something I didn't know anything about.
No.
And I was like, and it was championed by Paris Hilton, basically.
Good for her. I love her. I think she's amazing. And it's not on my list, but the Britney Spears memoir came out this week, and I want to listen to that.
That's another one that's good.
I'm always ready for more trash talking Justin Timberlake. I need more trash talking of him in my life because he's just gross. And I hate that NSYNC are like thinking they're amazing because they're back together. It's like, but you still got Justin Timberlake, so
she's another one that the media has just done dirty.
When you think about what the culture was when we were growing up around women, it's just disgusting.
Someone should have brought back up the performance she did where everyone was like, oh, she's so fat. Now, and I remember back then being like, oh my god, she is so fat.
Yeah.
Like, look at her. And now I look at it and I'm like, oh my god, her stomach
we were
is
so
flat.
Conditioned.
Yeah, her stomach is flat in those pictures.
Yeah.
And I was like, that like someone found all these like things from back then where they're saying like she's this, she's that. And I'm like, oh my god.
And like magazines that were aimed at teenage girls talked about how all these people were fat, and it's like, why was that acceptable?
But they still go on though. These magazines still exist.
Yeah.
It's like a snapped paparazzi picture and like, but now they try and go for a different angle sometimes. Like, oh, so-and-so's filling out, good for her.
Yeah.
There's still the media commenting on her weight.
Yeah. Ugh, gross.
Or like the baby rumours.
Yeah.
Like, as Jennifer Aniston says, she gets constant pregnancy rumours about her until she got older. And she couldn't have kids. And that's the reason she didn't have any.
And now they're like...
And they're constantly, every time she had a little bit of extra weight on, they're like...
Is she pregnant?
Yeah.
Just stop it.
Because she gets the whole sad child-free thing on her.
Yeah.
On the media now.
Because everyone's like, oh, she was so desperate to be a mum. But was she? Did she at any point say she was desperate to be a mum? Like...
I know there was an interview she talked about it, but I haven't watched it myself to like know what it said.
Yeah.
I just know she said she couldn't have kids or tried to and it didn't happen, or...
Doesn't happen for everyone. Not everyone wants kids. Like...
No, everyone can afford them.
And, like... I have kids and I always worry about what world they're growing up in, and it makes me so like scared for them. I'm like, you're literally going to be, if this carries on, you're going to be working till you die like me, and that's not fair. Like, no.
I got my paperwork through from my retirement like thing.
Oh yeah.
My what's the word I'm looking for?
Pension.
I could live for exactly 1 year with the money I've got now.
Yeah, I've had my pension, like my private pension pots. I've been building them for maybe like 10 or so years. And I think I've got about £400, so I should be really good for 4 days.
Yeah. But like, I've got all these pots because I've had a lot of different jobs. So I've got like, me and Mum counted up. There's at least 6 pots to 8 pots that I need to consolidate.
I was going to say, can you consolidate them?
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. So if anyone has a tip,
yeah, if anyone could just do this.
This is going back to like so the law about your workplace having to match your pension amount. This is a really boring adult topic. That law came into effect just around the time I started working.
Yeah.
So right back to my first job at the bakery. That one,
yeah.
I had a pension. And I worked for the NHS for a bit, so I got a little bit of pension. That's a good one. Don't know where that is.
Somewhere.
Only one I've got is my last job, because I got paperwork. This is the first one I've ever had paperwork from the people they keep the pension with.
Yeah, yeah. All of I've got 2 of them, 2 pensions, like 2 different setup ones, and they do what's the word I'm looking for? They invest the money.
Yeah, that's what I've got an Aviva one.
I've got them on high risk because I'm like, well, I've got fuck all to lose anyway. So
I remember saying once, because that is voluntary contribution, and I was saying someone was like, "Oh, I want to reduce my percentage," and like, "Well, you've got to save your future," and I was like,
"What future?
I don't have it now, Deborah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have it now,
yeah.
So
why am I saving? I'll never retire.
No.
What are you talking about?
I might get to work part time.
I will die at my desk.
Sorry, guys. We both haven't had much sleep today, so I think the vibe is coming across. There's been like, after not working for 2 months, and obviously not having children you want to take care of for those 2 months, I've been like, this is what life could be like. Yeah. I could eat when I want to. I can take as long as I want to for my meals, not half an hour. I could just, like, there's always just more time to do something. I never had to worry. Yeah. It's just been this week where I've started a new job, and I'm like, I really only have 2 days to do everything again. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no.
And it's the same 2 days that everyone else has to do everything. I used to really like, I didn't mind shift work when it meant I had a day off during the week, because I could have a doctor's appointment if I wanted, you know? I mean, now I couldn't possibly have a doctor's appointment even if I needed one. So both my children, we set them up savings accounts when they were born, and they're both high risk investments. And, well, they're both rolling in it in comparison to me, so there we go.
Yeah, my parents set me up one and forgot about it, and then when I was like 13, we were like, something just fell over.
I think it might have been a book.
Oh, that was done on purpose. That was on theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was like 13 or something, we were like, well, we've got this savings account, it's got 100 quid in, do you want it? And I was like, sure.
Yeah, why not?
I'll spend it on clothes.
And my partner and my father-in-law set them up, and so they set up the first one for my son, and I was obviously post C-section and very, very sleep deprived, so I didn't have much to do with it. And then when we set it up for my daughter last year, I was like, I was more involved, and so they set up the exact same one for my daughter, and that's when I found out they get them when they're 18. And I was like, oh no, I would have done 21. Why are you giving them that money when they're 18?
Oh, it's for uni though. It's going to be used for uni.
It's going to be used for getting drunk at uni, probably, if they take after me.
Oh my god, this is total tangent, but you don't have many more books on the list, do you?
Let's just tangent. It's fun.
So have you seen this whole report that's come out about how student loans don't cover rent in most cities?
Yeah.
And like there's been this whole revolutionary report. I'm like,
Did you never ask a student ever?
That was my reality 10 years. Like,
exactly.
No, not 8 years ago. I graduated. So 2012.
Exactly.
I started uni. That was 10 years ago. But I graduated like 7-8 years ago. Anyway, I was like, my loan didn't cover my rent back then.
Yeah. And that was before they upped everything.
Yeah, so and in Birmingham as well, which didn't used to be an expensive city. It's becoming more so now.
Well, I worked full time whilst I was at uni, so...
Well, my parents, because my parents technically, collectively got pushed into the top bracket.
Oh, yeah.
But not enough to, actually help us out. And it also doesn't take into account if you've got another sibling at uni. And my brother was selfishly doing a master's at that time. Although he was in Wales, so a bit cheaper. But so my parents had to help me out financially, and I didn't realise my mum took on debt to do that. She never told me. So we were just exchanging debt all over the place. But it's like this big report where they're so surprised, and I was like, tell that to me buying Smart Price panty liners.
Oh my god.
17 pence for pads.
Yeah, I was like a big fan of the 97p store for my dinner. Go in there and get some really cheap noodles for dinner.
I used to go to Tesco's but at like 3 a.m. and go through the sad sections.
Yeah.
All the discounted bits.
And that degree has served me so well.
At least I'm doing semi-related to my degree.
Yeah.
Tangentially.
One day.
Books.
Right. I want to...
I can't believe that started with Britney Spears, that whole tangent.
Yeah,
Go Britney, making us think. Making us think.
I was going to say there's someone that's not struggling for money, but a lot of her money was siphoned off by her dad, so... Anywho, Taylor Swift is now a billionaire. Now that's a billionaire I can get behind, because she does trickle down economics. She pays it down.
She was on Jimmy Kimmel and he was like, oh, so dancers don't get healthcare, and she was like, mine do.
Yeah, every person involved in her tour had healthcare. She paid all of her... I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, in case you didn't know. She paid all of her truck drivers a $200,000 bonus each.
Have you seen
because her tour made so much money.
Do you see how her tour was boosting economies?
Yeah.
So they were like, who could predict that a singer would save our economy?
It's the year of women, like Taylor Swift, Barbie, and I think Beyonce had something. I'm sorry, I'm not really a fan of Beyonce, but I think she may have had an album or a tour or something this year. Anyway, apparently those three...
Basically 3 women saved the economy this year.
Yeah. Women.
Like every city she was going through was getting this huge economic boost.
Yeah. Queens. The next book I want to listen to as an audio, because I've got it from the library currently, so I will actually be listening to this soon, is A Black Boy Eaten by Dilabi Onanami. Sorry. As I said, I didn't look up anyone's names.
And we struggle. Well, you struggle specifically with any name.
Any name, yeah.
Western, British, whatever it is.
Yeah. So this follows, it's a memoir, and it follows the second black boy to study Eton, and he joined it in 1965. And he wrote this when he was 21, and it's about the racism he endured at the institution, etc. And yeah, I want to read it and learn about it.
Really interesting.
It was so there's a series called Black Britain Writing Back, and that's a series, and it's all about it's all black authors writing about their experience, and this is one of them. I would like to listen to the rest probably. I think this is like number 14 in the series. Or something.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're all different British black experiences. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. And this was selected for a Booker Prize as well, I think.
Because I probably know more about American black history than I do British. I'm not gonna lie.
There was a really good book I read, it must have been last year, called Black and British. I think that's just what it was called, Black and British. And they had a children's version as well, which kind of made it a bit more easier to digest.
Yeah,
I think that's what it's called. I am just going to double check. And it was
I remember you mentioning it.
Yeah, and it was about the history of black British people, how they got here, what they went through, slavery, etc., about colonisation. Black and British, by David Ulasaga, and that was really eye-opening, and that was when I realised I know nothing about the experience in England or in Britain. So that's one that I'm very intrigued by, especially in a educational institution.
I should eat it, and I can't imagine eating's even that friendly nowadays.
Yeah, I know, right? Let alone in the 60s.
Yeah.
Another one I want to read is called, when it loads up, it's called House of Psychotic Women.
Okay.
Let me just load it up properly. House of Psychotic Women. So it's an autobiographical
Topographical?
Thank you. And it's about the female neuroses in horror and exploitation films by Keila Janice. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. So this is basically, she is going through how women have been used across horror films and exploitation films in history, and it really delves into like a lot of the well-known films. And that's, it's two things I love: women and horror. That's it. That's all I need.
It's kind of like books like The Yellow Wallpaper. You read that?
Oh, sorry, it's film.
Film. Okay.
Yeah, horror films. Sorry, I should have made that clear. Horror and exploitation films.
Okay.
So yeah, really looking forward to that because obviously, traditionally and probably still now quite often, women are used to push the narrative forward through abuse, etc., etc. Yeah, especially in the 70s, there was a big boom in like exploitative media, which really like just abused women a lot for film. So yeah, and this is just a big deep dive into that. Should be a fun read.
Yeah,
I think that'll
be light.
Yeah, it's one I've got physically, so I think it'll be one that I'll just like do a chapter and then read something else or whatever. I can't imagine I'll sit there and read like nearly 400 pages of it because I will just,
it's a bit heavy,
spiral a little probably.
A bit heavy,
yeah. And who knows, I might like want to watch some of the films that they discuss or whatever. So I have 3 more books about the Palestine conflict. So I have one called Palestine Speaks, and this is by a mixture of authors, and this is it's a group of Palestinian civilians who describe their life under this conflict, and it has eyewitness accounts of, at the time it was written, the most recent attacks that had happened. So it's from 2014. Yeah, and it follows, so for instance, it follows a civilian who is a professional marathon runner and his pursuit of trying to leave the country to pursue his dream, etc. But Palestinians have like really restrictive travel opportunities and stuff. So
they have quite odd passports, don't they? Yeah. I don't know enough about that to speak with authority.
No, I don't know a lot about it.
But I know they have a very complicated passport.
Yeah, I think because some people say they don't even exist. Yeah. So
I think it depends on if the country they're going to acknowledges them or not.
Which is, we're 2023. How is this a thing? I just cannot understand. If you're going to have borders, then you need to have I just don't understand. It's like that film with Tom Hanks in it. Was it when was it called The Terminal?
It's the guy who like lived in an airport for like years.
Yeah, because that was based on something real.
That's a real guy, yeah.
Yeah, and like so he gets on a flight, and when he lands, his country no longer exists. How? And how is stuff like that happening now?
I don't know, we've got, like, you know, footage of, like, attacks that happened in the 90s that US government still denies existed.
Yeah, that's
And they've
true.
got footage of, like, camcorder footage.
Yeah.
Taken by victims and perpetrators.
Yeah, and it's like, couldn't be us. AI,
still not
before
acknowledged.
AI was a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that some of the images that are being shared now, speaking of propaganda, just have a look, see if it looks like an AI image, because some of those images are quite obviously AI.
When the Ukrainian conflict kicked off, there were loads of people on TikTok doing verification of videos that were going viral.
Yeah.
And fact-checking them.
Yeah.
And that's not happening this time around.
Yeah,
I've not been seeing them.
Yeah. But TikTok, if you use certain hashtags, they're being suppressed. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, a lot of the world really wants one part of this conflict to be suppressed. So, yeah. But I do find it very interesting that the difference in how the Ukrainian and Russian conflict was dealt with to now. I think that's still going on. We just don't really hear about it much now.
No, it's still going on.
Yeah. But I distinctly remember there was like, we're going to take in refugees. Everyone send them coats
of outrage,
and
well,
we're not seeing anything like that now.
Even just because I've just been on holiday, and there's still things up saying if you're a Ukrainian refugee, come this way.
Yeah. And
there was another one saying if you are flying in with such and such passport from people in this conflict, report here. Even that's just like a different language.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not saying refugee.
No.
If you have arrived from these zones, report here.
Yeah.
Rather than,
and
are you
language
Ukrainian?
Is important.
So those two things are side by side. One is a nice printed roller banner.
Mm-hmm.
One is a poster on the wall.
Yeah.
That was Stansted.
And there's like, I've been following a lot of it, and I've seen like people that are on the ground and are interviewing like Israelis, or rather they were interviewing people who had moved to Israel from America, and they were like, you know, what do you think about like you've just moved here, what do you think about the Palestinian plight or whatever? And this guy was like, I'm going to stop you there because Palestine isn't a real thing, it's made up, and Palestinians aren't real. And it's like, I'm sorry, a person isn't real? Like, language is important. What are you talking about? You can't just say these people aren't real and they disappear. That's not how it works.
And then have it put on national media as well.
Yeah. I can't comprehend. And then people are like willfully, if you are saying like you're anti-genocide, then you must be like anti-Semitic, and it's like, why are you equating two things that are, why are you doing that? That's like, you're just muddying, it's all being muddied on purpose.
We're using deliberately provocative language there to get a response.
Yeah, exactly. The Palestine Laboratory, How Israel Exports the Technology of Occupation Around the World. And this is by Anthony Lowenstein. And this is about how for instance, I don't know if that's mentioned in here, but a lot of the weaponry that's used by Israel was actually made in the UK. They have 8 factories here that make their weapons that are currently being used. So this is all about how they build their surveillance and their weaponry and everything in other countries, and then it's exported back. So, like, to what extent are other countries also complicit? And
interesting.
Which is very interesting. And then the last one is 10 myths about Israel. And I think when it loads up, I think this might be a shorter one again.
I think we're having some Wi-Fi issues today.
Yeah, this is another shorter one. And so this just, you know, it's just, it's like a deep dive into like the propaganda and what you believe is true, and like how it's probably not entirely true, maybe based in some truth, but I don't know until I read it. So that's the last of the ones I got from Verso Books as free ebooks. On a not related but a slightly different spectrum, I really desperately, and I don't know why I haven't read it yet, want to read The Will to Change by Bell Hooks. Okay. And Bell Hooks is a author that I've read a few from. I keep meaning to read more by her, and this is top of my list. And I already know it's one I want to pass to my partner to read. So the like subtitle of it is Men, Masculinity and Love. So this very much dives into how in a patriarchal culture men are harmed by their what they believe masculinity is, and how they are often told they need to suppress their emotions. How how regardless of their like age, marital status, sexual orientation, etc., they all have to express themselves a certain way to be a man, and how it's very dangerous for men, basically. So I want to read this, and then I want to give it to my partner because he is obviously a man. So I think he'll take something out of it, but I also want him to perhaps question in himself some of the things he might do that my son would then pick up, or my daughter would then look at and think is the norm. And my partner's pretty, I would say he's pretty, he's
lefty like you.
Yeah, he's not like, he doesn't have like a, oh, you have to be this way to be masculine or this way to be feminine, da 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 da. But I think there's always room for people to question what they have internalized. Also,
just like not realizing they're expressing themselves in a traditionally masculine way.
Yeah. So he's like what I've been discussing with him a lot recently is his initial emotion for everything is anger, which I know is an issue for a lot of men.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's also to do with his ADHD, because my son's initial response to everything is anger. But I'm like, well, we've got to think about as well how my son and my daughter are perceiving it.
It's really interesting when I learned like that anger is a secondary emotion. There's an emotion that has caused anger. Anger is not the emotion.
Yeah.
And because that was really insightful, because I've got a really quick temper. You wouldn't know it anymore. People who meet me now don't know.
I used to be such an angry person.
I'm internally seething with rage 90% of the time. But like you have to learn, like, it's a secondary emotion. Like, actually I'm angry right now because I'm overstimulated, or I'm tired, or I'm hungry.
Yeah.
And then I'd be snapping at someone, and I have to sit there and like, it's not their fault you're hungry and tired. It's not their fault, so they don't deserve to bear the consequences. So I have to do a lot of that with myself a few years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I slip up even now. Like, even on the way here today for recording, I shouted at my son, and then in the car I was apologising to him, and I was like, I'm really sorry, Mummy was feeling stressed because everything was running behind, and I didn't want to be late for something, and I'm hungry, and I wasn't angry at you, and I'm sorry I shouted at you.
Yeah.
Because one thing will happen in my house: we will apologise to our children when we should be apologising.
Yeah.
I am never ever gonna be too high and mighty to apologise to my children when I need to, or admit that I just was feeling overwhelmed or emotional or anything like that. I'm trying to teach my children what emotions are and to emotionally regulate by modelling it. So yes. Sometimes I'm like, I just need 5 minutes by myself. Mummy just needs to not be touched for 5 minutes, or I need to go and have a bath, and I need you to leave me alone for 15 minutes just so Mummy can Have quiet time.
Even with my parents, I started doing that. I started red flagging my emotion. I just go, I feel this right now, and what I need from you is this.
Yeah.
I appreciate you've just got home from work as well, so like, how can we make this happen?
Yeah.
I started doing a lot of that, which is like sort of retroactively, so sort of gentle parenting your parents.
Yeah.
They don't listen to this.
Apparently for our generation, that's a big thing that we do though.
Because both of my parents are very quick to anger, but it fizzles out really quickly, and it's a secondary emotion. There's usually something else that's caused it. And like, I found that if I remain completely calm and rational throughout it, I have started to, you get apologies and things like that happening.
You're like, when you see a T-Rex, you just don't move.
Just freeze.
So I think...
Or I acknowledge the emotion that I appreciate you're feeling frustrated right now, but here's how what you're doing is making me feel.
Yeah. My son's got so good at this though. Like, we had his parent teacher meeting the other week. Oh, I was in tears. The teacher was in tears. It was all positive tears. But you know, he's got to the point where he'll be like, I'm angry, I need to be alone, leave me alone. And I'm like, yeah, 100% I will leave you alone. As long as you're safe.
Yep.
What you're doing is safe. Like,
you're not hurting others.
You can't be angry around my daughter, around your sister. You can go to your room and you can be angry. That is fine. Because that's a safe space for you to go be angry. Like, yeah. And I'm proud of him. Because he shows more emotional understanding than some adults right now. So, yeah. It's hard work, but it should be worth it when he's older.
Honestly, I think the millennials are going to be the generation that breaks the generational curses.
So hoping. We're taking a lot on.
Because a lot of us are either working on ourselves or working on it for our kids.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who isn't trying to work on themselves and like break down some of the things they grew up with.
Yeah, and then you've got like above us, like boomers that just don't give a fuck about what they're putting out in the world.
Some of them.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm generalising. I mean, not all millennials are working on themselves. Some of them are very happy to just be toxic. You know, it's generalisations. I have a book.
Okay.
Called When It Loads.
Do we need to put you on my hotspot? Because our Wi-Fi has been awful.
I've got 2 more books. So should
okay.
I've got a book. I've got a book called A Fenland's Garden, Creating a Haven for People, Plants and Wildlife.
Oh!
By Frances Pryor. And I think that this is going to be a nice read. So this is about the complex and fragile English landscape, the fens of southern Lincolnshire, and the author is a archaeologist, and it's about the English field systems, how to plan and build your garden so that it is good for the English nature.
Let's have a garden where I grow vegetables one day.
I'm desperate for that.
Or even just like a space for a window box. I don't know.
And it's just learning about English agriculture, really, I guess.
Okay,
and
that's cool.
I think that that'd be a nice, cosy read this winter. I can get loads of ideas and then not do them, but I can still get loads of ideas.
I like all these people you'll see that are getting rid of like their gardens that are just lawns and planting stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, or even if they're putting gravel over it to make like cozy little like chill area or something, I don't know. I'm like, I like this. So just like the lawns are boring.
We have
plant stuff.
like a wild meadow in the corner of our garden. I don't know if you was it thriving when you were there, or had it already died? Because it's only it only thrives for a few months.
It was hot when I was
it was, wasn't it? Yeah. And we go for kind of like a natural vibe because I want to encourage all of the insects.
Yeah.
And we have had a few comments about
the weeds.
Not so much the weeds, but like why we haven't cut back our plants. And I'm like, Because it's our garden.
Why are you asking?
Yeah. We're in a village, sometimes people like to stick their nose in a bit. So, yeah, the people who lived in our house before we moved in.
Yeah.
She parked in our street once to go to like a village festival or something. Yeah, so I was in the driveway getting my son in the car, and I saw this lady just staring at us, and I was like, "The fuck is going on?" She was like, "Hi," and she was like, "Oh, hi, sorry, I used to live here. I was just like looking," and I was like, "Oh, okay, hi," like having a little chat because her parents still live in a village, and obviously village life. And she was like, "Yeah, I was just looking because we used to cut back all these plants," and I was like, "Yeah."
Good for you.
I was like, "Yeah, we like the bees and stuff," and she was like, "Oh." And I was thinking, "No, you saw the back garden."
You got really nice plants in your front garden.
Yeah, I love
that. Was
the
nice
lavender.
To drive home to.
We get so many bees on that lavender, and I love it.
Yeah, we have a huge lavender out there.
And we get a lot of weeds because we back onto a field, so we get a lot of weeds. But
a lot of those weeds
I let them
are
do
quite
their
good
thing.
for the insect life, to be honest.
Well, we have a cycle of insects in the garden. Like we get.
I don't even think like daisies and things. I don't think they're that ugly. Like they're pretty.
No, my partner gets really angry with the dandelions. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
dandelions. I like them.
But when we get rabbits, they like to eat dandelions.
I just think dandelions look pretty. I don't know why people hate them so much.
Yeah, my son loves to blow the little. I did say to him this year, I was like, okay, from now on, because it makes him really angry and he goes out and tears them all up in fury. I was like, can you just collect them all? Like, don't put any weed killer on them. He doesn't anyway, but I was like, don't put any weed killer in the garden. Collect all dandelions, and I'm going to try and make like dandelion tea or dandelion jam or something, rather than you just wasting them. But yeah, I don't know. I like having bugs. Oh yeah, we have a cycle, so we get ants, and then which order does it go? There's a particular order.
Yeah.
So we get. I think the ants are first. Then we get solitary bees. And then we get grasshoppers, and we get them like a cycle. So we get the ants first with their little ant hills, and then they kind of filter off, and then they get taken over by the solitary bees because they make little homes in the ground. So they basically move into the ant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then when they kind of move on, then we get loads of grasshoppers. So it's really nice. It's like a little ecosystem. I like it.
Like our garden in the summer, because we got all the bird feeders up and everything. My friend was like, "This is like a Disney film."
Yeah,
we were sat out there and we got like all the insects around.
That's nice.
We got dragonflies as well. We've got all the birds and the bees and everything's like all buzzing and like squirrels are there. And she's like, "This is like a Disney film."
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah,
and we've got loads of the little bug hotels for my son, and we go and have a look at who's trekked into the motel.
Mum started trying to plant insect-friendly plants.
That's what our meadow is.
Yeah.
It's just insect-friendly stuff. Yeah,
but she's trying to do insect-friendly but not invasive ones.
Yeah, and I really want to replant our lawn as a clover lawn.
Oh my god, they're so pretty.
They're so beautiful, and they feed insects, and they're really soft on your feet. It's not intrusive. In fact, it's more natural. And then we wiped out the clover. Yeah. So that's what I want to do. It's a big undertaking though, so I'm waiting till I can kind of afford it. Because the
Can you not just scatter some clover seeds and hope for the best?
I could do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because the lawn that we have, like the grass that we have, is not how it naturally should look. Clover is our natural.
Yeah, because grass was introduced. It's an invasive species.
Yeah. And I think it's more of an American thing. I don't know, it could be here. But when they're like obsessed with having the green grass lawns and they have to be cut down, and like the housing association get involved or whatever it is. Like, no, just let it be. Let it be. Let it be.
Yeah, my friend had a really large garden. He actually had a genuine meadow in his garden.
Yeah.
the one in the countryside. So they had what they called Willow Walk. So they had a whole bunch of trees, which weren't willows, but I don't know why it's called Willow Walk. But anyway,
pretty name.
It was all these trees that had been planted in kind of a line, so it was a pathway, and then they had the meadow growing through it.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
That's what I want.
Just need £1 million, and then you can have a house like that.
Yeah, I'll just do that. Next on my list, last on my list, in a complete opposite change of pace.
I love it.
I've got an ARC. It comes out in January. Not the End of the World, How We Can Be the First Generation to Build a Sustainable Planet by Hannah Ritchie. And this is about how our Earth is fucked. And
just to end on a positive note.
But this is about, it's a hopeful book.
Yeah.
It talks about how we can channel our anxiousness and powerlessness and everything like that into something positive, and the things we can do to help our planet, and like and it has the data to back up that we can. It feels like we're not getting anywhere, but we can. There are things we can do, and it's all about like how you can eat locally, things you can do in your own gardens to help. So I think that'll work quite nicely with the Fenland one. Yeah. I think because I get serious eco-anxiety, I get really stressed about
it. Definitely try to put too much pressure on yourself once.
Yeah,
and try
there
to
was
make
a
yourself
time when it
a plastic-free household with a young kid in the house.
There was a time when every day I was like depressed about the state of the world, and I still am, but I try not to hold as much on my own shoulders anymore.
The individual can only do so much, while big corporations are doing what they do.
And I'm aware of that, but then it used to make me really depressed knowing that there's people that can do more and they wouldn't do more, and it just really got to me, and I had to realise I can't take it on my shoulders because I can't change.
You cannot change the world.
So I think that'll be good because it's got the data that shows that there are things you can do that do help.
Well, I think it's something like if you just have one meat-free day a week, that cuts your carbon footprint by 30% or something stupid.
Yeah.
1 or 2 days a week it has to be.
Yeah.
No meat.
We do a lot of meat-free now.
But you need to do it 1 or 2 days a week to cut your carbon footprint by 30%.
And it's such an easy thing to do.
Buying local is hard because that's expensive.
Sorry?
Buying local is hard unless you live maybe a bit more rurally like you do, and there's people who are growing the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, eggs, we get eggs locally. We get our milk locally. Honey, I get locally. Oh, when you buy local honey, like when you buy honey that's been, it doesn't even have to be local, but you know where it's not had so many steps in between it, you can taste the flowers.
Is that? Oh, because you can use that to help with hay fever, can't you?
Yeah, because it's local pollen.
If you have honey made from local pollen, it can help you with your hay fever.
Yeah, so that is one good thing about being like in a little village, and even like some of the little farms around here, you can go and get foods that's been made.
Because my friend lives in a village, and like when they're all their sort of harvesting comes up, they all just put like boxes in their front gardens, like take an apple.
And like rhubarb and stuff.
Yeah, there was like a box of carrots once, just like take a carrot.
And like the little church in our village always makes preserves, so it's all fruit that they've grown in their garden. And they had loads of black cherries last year, so they made loads of black cherry syrup. That was delicious. I got loads of it, and me and my son were putting it on our yogurt, on our ice cream, everything. It's delicious.
But that'd be interesting.
I wish I could be more. I wish I had the space and the money to do more of like growing my own stuff. That would be my dream. Grow my own fruit and veg. Yeah,
one of the ladies that I cat sat for, there was one of my old colleagues.
I think
you came to her house. Yeah, do you remember her garden? She grew loads. Like she would have stuff to spare. She'd have to bring it into work. Like
that's what I want. Like that would just make me so happy. And doing it with my children would make me so happy.
She had apple trees. She had blueberries. She had loads of veg.
Yeah.
Like one year she got so many chilies because of the heat waves that she was just like, I took a whole box home from my brother because he cooks hot food.
Yeah, just... Oh, I love that.
It's a lot of hard work for her though, but like she loves gardening, so
yeah, it's like a hobby, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, one day that'll be me.
One day you could just be living your best feral life. You should be living on a commune. That's what you need.
Do you know what? In America, it's growing in popularity. Like mother communes, where it's just a bunch of single mums, and rather than live with a man, they just live together, and they have the house. Like they can help each other with childcare and all of this. And just I was telling my partner, and I was like, "This is the life I want," and he was like, "Yeah, that was better than our life."
Well, I think that just the thing about modern living is lacking in community.
Yeah.
There is no village, as
we
it
were
were.
like, we were talking about like, could we be in a poly relationship so that there's a larger community for us? And we were like discussing whether we morally could do it. Like, if we
what if there was someone just to take care of you guys, and then you guys took care of the kids or something?
Yeah, and we were like genuinely having a discussion about whether that's something we could look at in the future. Like, are we too monogamous?
Yeah.
Or no, the question is he too monogamous? I think I would thrive in a poly situation. I really do. But yeah, and we were just discussing it as would it ever be something that we would consider? Because like, just imagine more hands, more love.
Yeah. Sounds alright to me.
I was like, imagine if we just had another woman join us who had kids as well, and they could be friends with our kids, and it would just be a beautiful community. I love it. And we would be the house that no one in the village lets their kids go near.
You'd be one of those ones of like, you know, you don't question what goes on behind closed doors.
They're just good friends.
The kids are happy and healthy. Yeah. They seem like lovely ladies.
And then start homeschooling and live my complete feral life.
I did see this one, like, it was like a poly group, it wasn't even like a three. It was like a group of them. And one was like, oh yeah, I don't really enjoy sex that much, so I'm just here for companionship.
Yeah.
So we just cuddle. And there was another one who's like, I love sex, so like that's what they're for, and like they all have a different role.
And then like, and apparently, like, I mean, obviously there's no way you can prove it statistically.
Yeah.
But the theory is communication is so much better between between relationships like that. Because you all have to communicate very well to stop any jealousy or any miscommunication or whatever. And I don't know, it just seems really wholesome for me, in my opinion. Yeah. Seems more wholesome. Anyway. That's where we are in my non-fiction. Maybe I should find a book about, like, communes.
Yeah, commune.
Non-cultish communes.
That's what I mean. You just need to live on like a commune where it's like we grow everything and the children run and play.
Oh, my kids
we
would
all
just be
take
barefoot
turns
playing
doing
in the
things.
garden, the chickens. Oh well, I guess I could join a cult.
We don't have any good ones in the UK, really, though.
Good ones.
Not quite as intense.
What
and they're not allowed to buy land where they're completely unmonitored.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I need. I need to, like, maybe when Scotland gets its independence, I can go. Although I don't think Scotland needs any more British people going and taking over their lands, to be honest. But we'll see. Yeah. Who knows?
Anyway, on that note,
that's my non-fiction for Nonfiction November.
That was so much tangenting.
Let me know any non-fiction you recommend, or you've been reading, or let's just non-fiction.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch saved.
You should do one of your writing ones.
Yeah, I should, shouldn't I? One little pile of shame down there. Yeah, I know. Might be really helpful.
First, you write a sentence or whatever it's called.
Yeah. Yeah, I read that one. Had it for 3 years.
Can you? That was back at a time when I said to you I'm going to read something, I actually did.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That
I
was
literally
the
was
time.
like, oh, this book was recommended on my course. I've bought it. It looks really good. And you were like, okay, bought it, listened to it straight away. And I was like, oh shit.
2 weeks later, consumed.
Mm.
Now I'm like, oh, remember that buddy read you set up 5 months ago? Still not ready yet.
I mean, the buddy read from March.
Yeah.
That was a holiday I went on in March.
Yeah. There we go. But, you know.
What are you going to do?
We'll do some buddy reads.
It's like, you saying you want me to read the whole
Yeah, we need to do that.
series together? And I'm like, but will you though?
We need to do that in December. I feel like that's a
Okay.
December read. A Christmas read.
Alright. Well, I have mandatory days off
Ah.
between Christmas and New Year's. My new job. So I will definitely be off for at least a week.
Yay!
Although I learnt my lesson about working through Christmas, because I'm like, oh, I won't be doing anything anyway. Like, and then it's depressing as shit. So, even working from home, because I'm like, well, I'll be home anyway, so I might as well get paid for it and save the holiday days. And then it was so depressing and boring.
Yeah, you're like, hang on, this is so much regret
I've never
right
done it
now.
again.
Yeah.
Because obviously retail, I always had to work through every Christmas.
Yeah.
So I've always associated Christmas with just hell.
Yeah.
Like, that's hell week.
Yeah.
Especially when I worked in the bakery. This is not so much these days though, but back then when in-person shopping was the thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas, we had people banging on our doors, like banging, before we'd even opened. And I'm like, mate, it's 7 a.m.
Come on, mate.
What are you? The rest of the shops don't even open.
Yeah, what
What
are you
doing? And then, because my manager loved a bit of money, she would make me let them in. But we're still setting up. We don't open till 8. I'd have to go.
Once you do it once, that's it, you're fucked.
No, I'd have to go to the door, ask what they wanted, close the door.
No.
Get it. Invite them in to pay.
No.
Well, because it was cash them days as well, so
Yeah.
I would have to go up and give the cash, take the cash. So I'd be like walking back and forth to the door
No, fuck that.
because she'd like the money, and then she'd be like, setup's not done, and I'm like,
You don't fucking say.
fucking hell.
Oh, well,
Anyway,
yeah. We'll be starting some form of Christmas content at some point, I guess. I don't really know what we'd do for Christmas content.
we called it the Christmas episode no one asked for, but I can't remember what we actually did.
No one asked for it either.
Still one of our top episodes there. You want to go listen to that?
Yeah.
It's got loads of hits. It's one of our top performing episodes. Couldn't tell you what we said in it.
So thank you for joining us today. Please come follow us on Instagram or TikTok, which at some point this year I will post on. That is it might be once.
It was one of our year
but we'll
goals
do it.
for
So I
the
just
year.
need to post once this year.
Tick.
Yeah. And we have set up a Facebook group and we would love you to come and join us there so we can chat more about books, make it a bit more of a community. You can have a say in what books we read potentially coming up or what episodes you want us to do.
What topics you want us to cover,
Yeah.
rec list that you want.
Please come and join us there. It's just Lazy Book Lovers Podcast, I think. It'll be in our card anyway. And our 100th episode is fast approaching.
Yep.
We want to do a Q&A episode, or at least a part of it will be Q&A.
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, please send us a DM anywhere, comment anywhere, or we have a link in our card for a form that you can send your questions over to.
It can be questions about us, our friendship, books we like, whatever.
Bees, whatever, really.
If you just want to write in to be like, question, can you stop fucking talking about bees for 20 minutes?
And I'll be like, answer, no. No, I cannot.
Can you not go on a depressing tangent about how we're never ever going to retire when you've been talking about Britney Spears?
Yeah, so please let us know. I will take abuse in the form of questions.
If we at least get some questions.
Yeah.
We'd love that.
Thank you for joining us today. Have a wonderful rest of your week and we'll speak to you next week.
Bye.